Gentlemen, you're very welcome this morning. I think one of the most profound statements you made there is railway planning is usually several generations, and the destruction of our railways around this country have impacted several generations. Which brings me on to a question from one of my dear friends and colleagues down in the West, Mark Duffy, councillor in Ballina. He speaks about the Western Rail Corridor, and he's wondering if there's any chance of an interim report as to where we are with the corridor and what's likely to happen there in the very near future. I'll leave that one with you for a moment, and then I'll move on to, we've moved to a society now that has the capacity to work from home quite a lot, and some of my colleagues have already mentioned this. If I live in Westport, I can get a 5:20 train and be in Dublin for 9 o'clock in the morning, or certainly very soon after that. If I live in Ballina, I can't get to Dublin until 11 o'clock in the morning, or certainly 10:30. So is there any chance, and I normally don't do constituency stuff, I'm a senator, I shouldn't be engaging in local politics, but I do see Councillor Duffy's point, right, that, you know, commuters from Ballina need to be able to get to Dublin just the same as those from Westport. So what would it take to review the start time for Westport? I'll take those two questions first, and then I'll come back to you, Mr. Mead.
Thank you, Senator. Certainly the Western Rail Corridor will be included as part of the All-Ireland Rail Review. It is one of the routes that has been looked at by our when they come back to us, and then the decision will be made by the two departments as to whether it's taken forward on that front. So it's still very much a live issue, and we expect the first report in the next month or two, don't we? Yeah. So in about a month's time, that will come back to us. So very much still a live issue, Senator, and very much part of the All-Ireland Rail Review. There's two things there on what you said about getting from Westport and from Ballina. We have just started with the NTA a review of the whole network, the whole timetable. It's coming from the point of view of that what will the future be post the pandemic, and post what will blended working be, and how much more remote working. So that timetable review is looking at the fact that we're getting new fleets. Probably part of the reason we don't have services everywhere at the moment is we have every wheel turning as it is. So and the higher flows of people are getting the fleet that's there. So as we start to bring in some fleet at the end of this year, and then the new electric trains in 18 months, 2 years time, that allows us to cascade trains across the country, or cascade other fleets. So we intend increasing the frequency of the regional cities. We intend looking at the branch lines. We intend looking at the very things you mentioned there, the Ballina service. Can we put another set up there and do an earlier morning service? Because we do see that people will move to the regions, and we're seeing some of it already, and some people will have blended working. They'll travel to Dublin a day or two a week, or 3 days a week. We're seeing that within our own organisation. And that blended working will bring more people onto public transport, I believe, because driving that distance for a couple of hours, you just have to drive it. If you get on a train, you can work, you can do what you want, you can eat, you can work, you can take a snooze if you're going home from a long day, but you can't do any of that in the car. So that blended working will bring not just the people we had before back, but it will bring a lot of new people onto public transport. And it's as we said earlier, then if at the ends of the public transport we have the right infrastructure, be it bus connections beyond Ballina and beyond Westport, be it hopping on the Lewis or on a bike here in Dublin, whatever it is, or in Athlone or in Galway or any of the intermediate stations, I think that's what we'll get to. So the timetable review will look at more services like you've outlined. I think the blended working will bring more demand, and the All-Ireland Rail Review will take cognizance of that.